In this video lecture, we are going to see the concept of uniform continuity of functions on metric spaces. I hope you are aware of continuous functions on metric spaces and its properties. By imposing certain conditions on continuity, we get several notions. These notions are very much useful in applications as they possess some nice properties in which the continuous functions do not have. So in this video lecture, we are going to see the three well-known concepts in analysis: uniform continuity, Lipschitz continuity and contraction. Each one of them is stronger than the concept of continuity. Lipschitz continuity is stronger than uniform continuity. Contraction is stronger than Lipschitz continuity. So in this lecture we discuss these three concepts in detail. This video lecture is divided into three parts. In the first part we see a definition, some characterization and examples. In the second part we see some important properties of uniform continuity. In the third part we see some examples. So let us recall the definition of continuity. Let x and y be metric spaces with metrics d and rho respectively. F is the function from x to y. We say the function f is continuous at a point c in x. If for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists delta greater than 0 such that x is in x satisfying b of x comma c less than delta implies rho of f of x and f of c less than epsilon. It means whenever any epsilon given, you will be able to find a delta such that x, whenever x lies in the ball centered at c radius delta, then f of x lies in the ball centered at f of c and radius epsilon. So we know very well, a function is continuous at a point, it must be defined at the point. If the function is continuous at every point on a set A, then we say a function is continuous on A. So let us see some examples of continuity. We take the set of real numbers with the absolute distance d of xy is modulus of xy. With respect to this metric, then the space is called standard metric space. Some examples of continuous function we will see. First we will start with the function f of x equal to 3x plus 1. The function f is defined on every real number. You can see the graph of function, which is a line, straight line. This function is continuous at every c. One can easily observe because if for any given epsilon greater than 0, if I find modulus of f of x minus f of c, which is 3 times of modulus of x minus c. So for any given epsilon, positive epsilon, then I can choose delta as any positive number less than or equal to epsilon by 3. In particular, if I choose delta as epsilon by 3, whenever modulus of x minus c less than delta implies we have modulus of f of x minus f of c less than epsilon. In this example, the choice of delta is the same regardless of which point we are considering. In the next example, g of x is equal to x square defined on R. We are going to observe something interesting because in the earlier example, we could find delta which was independent of any point, which was depending only on epsilon. So let us see what is going to happen in this example. For any epsilon greater than 0, if I find the difference modulus of gx minus gc, then which is modulus of x minus c times modulus of x plus c. We need to get a bound for modulus of x plus c that does not depend on x. So to find a bound for modulus of x plus c, I choose my x in the interval centered at c radius 1. Then we are going to check whether any bound could be obtained for modulus of x plus c. Yes, I can find. Because modulus of x less than modulus of c plus 1, because x is less than c plus 1, then modulus of x plus c becomes 2 times of modulus of c plus 1. Therefore, we have this relation, modulus of gx minus c less than modulus of x minus c times 2 times of modulus of c plus 1, provided modulus of x minus c less than 1. So to have this relation less than epsilon, so it suffices to choose modulus of x minus c is this. Therefore, we have a choice for delta is minimum of 1 and epsilon by 2 times of modulus of c plus 1. It is clearly evident from this relation, delta is not only depending on epsilon, it also depends on c. We will make some observation from the graph. So here epsilon is fixed, which is 1. Here the graph of g is shown on the positive values of x. Different points are chosen on the x-axis, c1, c2, c3. For different values of x, for the fixed value of epsilon, we get different deltas. So if you could observe delta, the values are decreasing when the values of x are increasing. Because of the steepness of the graph, this is happening. The larger values of c are going to require smaller values of delta. So if you consider this function g on the entire real line, when modulus of x is large, then small increments in x produce large differences in the values of x taken at these points. Therefore, we guess the function does not produce a common delta on R. But one may ask, so we have chosen the delta as this, which is given in equation 1. Some other delta could give a relation which is independent of the point chosen. Yes. Even though for any value of c, if you choose any particular delta, that must depend on the point because of the steepness of the graph. So we are going to see through characterization that the common delta does not exist in this example. The third simple example, I consider the function h, which is defined by 1 over x square. You know very well this function is continuous on the interval 0 to infinity. The function is not defined at 0, the open interval 0 to infinity. Here there is an exercise for you. So please try to find delta for a given epsilon for a given point and check whether this delta is depending on any particular point or not. And from the graph of the function h, we can observe the following. As c tends to 0, then h of c goes to infinity. So it is very clear that if you want to control the value of h for x near to c, the point c is chosen near the origin. Smaller value for delta is required. So in other words, if you want to assert that this h is within epsilon distance of h of c, then we have to restrict x for smaller and smaller open intervals around c as c goes nearer and nearer to 0. So in this example too, we cannot make a single choice of delta which will work for all c in the open interval AB. Interestingly, you cannot find a common delta even for the open interval 0, 1. This we are going to observe shortly. So from these two examples, so the examples g of x is equal to x square on a set of real line. So another example h of x is 1 over x square on open interval 0, 1. We were not able to find a common delta. Now we are going to analyze functions, especially continuous functions, which have common delta. That particular delta is depending only on epsilon, which should not depend on any particular point chosen. So these two examples motivated the definition of uniform continuity. So here A is a subset of X, F is a function from a metric space X to metric space Y. If for every epsilon, we will be able to find one delta such that whenever X and Y are in A, with d of xy less than delta, then rho of f of x and f of y less than epsilon. Remember, this uniform continuity is a global property. Unlike the continuity property, uniform continuity is always discussed in reference to a particular domain. The best way to understand uniform continuity is to look at some examples and see how the behavior of the function on the entire domain, because the entire domain of the function plays an important role. Let us consider another example. F of x is root x, which is defined on a non-negative real numbers, closed 0, open infinity. Using epsilon delta, one can easily prove that this function is continuous on A. If I start with an epsilon, I will be able to get a delta. If C is 0, then delta can be chosen as epsilon square. For non-zero value of C, then we could choose delta as epsilon times of root C. So now, this example, we should not come to an erroneous conclusion saying that this example delta is depending on C. No, this is one of the choices for D. But in this example, one can find D, one can find delta, which is independent of any point chosen in the interval closed 0, open infinity. So we are going to prove later that this function is uniformly continuous on the entire set A. Already I told you in the beginning, uniform continuity is stronger than continuity. This is simple result which says a function is uniformly continuous on a set A, then the function must be continuous. The function is uniformly continuous on the whole set X, then the function is uniformly continuous on every subset of X. We shall see several examples of continuous functions which are not necessarily uniformly continuous. Continuous functions that are not uniformly continuous abound. There are so many. This is a simple exercise using the concept of diameter. On a metric space, for a subset, you can define a diameter. Diameter of A is defined as supremum of d of xy. X and y are in A if the quantity is finite. If this supremum is infinite, then the diameter is taken to be infinite, which is diameter is an extended. The diameter of a set could be infinite also. In a finite case, by the definition of supremum, the smallest real number d such that any 2 points of A are at most at a distance d apart. So here a simple characterization using the concept of diameter. A function is uniformly continuous on A if and only for every epsilon there is a delta such that whenever E is a subset of A, if the diameter of A less than delta, then we have diameter of F of A less than epsilon. To formulate an equivalent condition for a function which is not uniformly continuous, so we use this criterion which is shown in theorem 9, which is one of the criteria for non-uniform continuity. If a function is not uniformly continuous, then we are able to find a delta such that for every delta we can find 2 points x and y in A. Of course, they are depending on delta. With d of x minus y, d of xy less than delta, but rho of f of x, f of y is greater than or equal to epsilon naught. This proof, you can prove it easily by using the definition of uniformly continuity. So if you say that the two statements are equivalent, here you can assume f is not continuous, then you will be able to find an epsilon in which there is no delta satisfying that. And for every delta, you will be able to get such x and y. Next, we see a sequential characterization for uniform continuity. X and y are metric spaces. F is a function from x to y. F is uniformly continuous on a subset A of x if and only for every sequences xn and yn in A satisfying d of xn comma yn tends to 0, we have rho of f of xn, f of yn tending to 0. So let us see the proof. Suppose I assume f is continuous. Suppose f is uniformly continuous on A. And we are given with two sequences xn and yn in A such that d of xn comma yn tends to 0. So what is our claim? Rho of f of xn and f of yn to tends to 0. So this is a sequence of real numbers. And if I say this sequence converges to 0, then I should start with an epsilon. Let epsilon greater than 0 be given. So I should be able to find a stage. After that stage, all the terms of the sequence are less than or equal to epsilon. So now we use the assumption, since f is continuous, f is uniformly continuous, since f is uniformly continuous on A, for this given epsilon, there exists delta greater than 0 such that whenever x and y are in A, with d of xy is less than delta implies rho of f of x minus f of y less than epsilon. So now the claim is rho of f of x and f of yn to tend to 0. So as this sequence converges to 0, if I want to apply the uniformly continuity on A, then I should make the distance between xn and yn less than delta, so that I may get rho of f of xn yn less than epsilon. So to make d of xn yn less than delta, as this sequence converges to 0, we apply the convergence of this sequence to 0 for delta, not epsilon, for delta. So there is this a natural number n. So this we get because this sequence converges to 0, there exists a natural number n such that distance between xn and yn is less than delta for all n greater than or equal to n. After, from the natural number n naught onwards, distance between xn and yn is less than delta. So remember this x and y's are in A. We have got a uniform delta. So this relation is there. Therefore, we get, using this, we get rho of f of xn, f of yn less than epsilon. But this is not true for all n except finitely many. This is true for all n greater than or equal to n naught. Therefore, this proves that this sequence converges to 0. So to prove the converse part, suppose f is not uniformly continuous. Already we have seen a criterion for uniformly continuity. There exists at epsilon not greater than 0 such that for every delta greater than 0, there exist points x and y in A such that this relation happens. D of xy less than delta, but rho of f of x, f of y greater than or equal to epsilon naught. But we are going to construct two sequences in A such that distance between xn and yn tends to 0, but rho of f of x and yn does not converge to 0. This is possible by considering delta as 1 by n. For each natural number 1 by n, we can get two terms, elements in A, xn and yn, such that d of x and yn less than 1 by n, but rho of f of x and f of yn greater than or equal to epsilon. So this proves that there are two sequences in A satisfying d of x and yn tends to 0, but rho of f of x and f of yn does not converge to 0. This contradiction proves that f must be uniformly continuous on A. Next, another sequential criterion for non-uniform continuity is very much useful to prove certain examples, which are the example continuous functions which are not uniformly continuous. This characterization says f is not uniformly continuous on A if and only if there exists an positive epsilon naught and two sequences xn and yn in A such that the distance between x and yn tends to 0, but rho of f of x and f of yn greater than or equal to epsilon. So we can apply the criterion for non-uniformly continuity already we have seen, but the same thing we have observed in the last proof also by considering delta as 1 by n. So now we have seen the definition of uniformly continuity and some characterization of a function f to be uniformly continuous or not uniformly continuous.